Next item. Item 7B, fostering neighborhood associations. Commissioner Henry will lead this part, and we'll review the edits from the city attorney's office, and the action is to approve the roadshow presentation. I know our staff person has an update and the attorney's comments. So, Commissioner Henry.
I would like to start off with the comments from the city attorney's office.
Okay. So one of them actually has to do with what you guys were just talking about, which is this question of Brown Act violations. And her response is that a majority of the body can attend another meeting if it is A, open to the public, both which this roadshow and the caucus would be. Well, maybe not. The caucus is a little bit weird. We have to figure that one out. But 2 is publicized. That would be for both. And 3, so long as a majority does not discuss or deliberate on a matter that is within their jurisdiction. For this reason, it is best to not have a majority. So that's the not clear response, I guess, is the best way of putting that. I suppose as what her recommendation is if you guys can do whatever is possible to ensure that a majority of you is not at any particular meeting. And still with that in mind, probably best not to discuss anything of substance, at least multiple of you. Like if people come up to you after this meeting and talk to you individually, that's different than if there's all of you standing there together listening to somebody.
And what's, just so we're clear, what's the number of people that constitutes a majority?
It would...
Sorry, to take into account the vacancies and et cetera. So just so we can hit a target.
Currently, well, we should be up to more people following next week. However, God, I don't know exactly how many people are getting appointed next week. So it would be half of the number of seated commissioners plus 1. Assuming that's an even number of seated commissioners. If it's odd, then it's just half.
So we're safe with 10.
If all the seats are filled. If not, then you're not.
Okay, no, well, based on the information that you're providing,
right.
The update is
right.
10.
10.
But with the body that we have now, it would be what, 6 or 7?
Yeah, it'd be 6 or 7.
Yeah, it would be
something like that.
6.
Okay.
Yeah. So 6 is still a quality number. I know we'll have new appointments, but even if we were stuck, 6 would be a solid number of people for our caucus. So, okay, and that's also for a roadshow then.
That is one of her comments. The other one of her comments is she has a concern about this slide. And while I did my best to try to make it fit what her concerns are, she's really wondering whether or not this should just be removed and replaced with something else. Because unfortunately, the slide as it originally looked, there was only one of those 4 arrows on the side, only one of them existed. And there was some concerns that what that made it seem like is that residents could only speak to neighborhood watch captains about their concerns. Neighborhood watch captains could only then speak to the neighborhood association, who could then only speak to the leadership group, who could then only speak to the commissioner, and the commissioner was the only person who could speak to council members. So this is just sort of an unwieldy, confusing slide now because of those extra arrows, which is why she was like, you might want to just come up with a different way of trying to represent that.
So she's okay with that though?
No, she's not very happy with the way it is because it's still confusing, which is why she said if there's a way to capture it differently, just take a different slide to get the same idea across. Do a different structure.
Okay, so we would need to redo that and resubmit it to her before we do it open. Just
the one slide, but yeah.
No, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Next, anything else?
And she had one more comment, but let me find it because I have lost it in here. I had a question for her about the idea of the commission reaching out to media. There's already, again, this goes back to your question about next door. We're still pending on that, but with regards to Facebook, you as a group do not have permission to have a Facebook account. However, we can talk to Astra about getting one approved. So that might give you another conduit for information. Broadly, I wasn't exactly sure what you guys meant by media, your media list. This is several slides earlier. This one. So I wasn't entirely sure who you were going to talk to, but my question was, again, the council districts have their own pre-existing relationships with media, so that might be a better solution than having to go through and ask a bunch of the attorneys and everyone else to make approvals for things in a relatively short period of time.
Okay, we were doing event planning, pamphlets, flyers, whatever. That was part of what we were trying to get across. Even if we wanted to have it in the snippet of what's coming up next, would that be okay to do?
Yeah, because part of the plan that this commission has come up with is that the snippets would be published by a council member, and once that's done, then it's approved for broad use because it's come from an official city leader, as opposed to us having to go through getting everything checked every single time you guys make a change. The council offices are okay with it. They put their stamp of approval on it. And to be honest, they do also go to their attorneys, just the turnaround time with council members is different than it is with the rest of the city. So.
Okay, so I guess the bottom line is what do we have accessible now to get the event publicized? What can we do?
You can't, currently, as it currently exists, because we're still checking on Nextdoor and we need to get Astro to approve your Facebook page, it would be the council offices. You guys really should make friends with the council districts. That is the best solution here. And make friends with, again, not your council members because they're busy, make friends with their staff because they're the ones who have the time and are going to retain the information that you say to them and follow up on it anyway. They would be in a meeting with a council member and you anyway, so.
Okay, so my next question is that if I relay on the council member and he promotes it through his office, can I use that flyer?
Yes, yes you can. And it doesn't have to be that just if it was your council member, only you and Commissioner Wilkins, thank you, last name, could use it, but everybody could use it because it's already been put out there by a council member. So as long as one of the council offices does it, then it can be.
That's an option.
Yeah.
Okay. And the one I saw in there that you haven't addressed yet is illegal fireworks. There's an all fireworks are illegal in San Jose. I don't remember exactly what I had previous.
I'm trying to find it. You had that information. It was just, I made it red so that it would pop.
I thought it was one of the...
Yeah, that's all. That's the only difference.
Okay. Do you have anything else?
On that, no. Most of the changes that were made were strictly for spacing, visibility reasons. Otherwise, there was nothing else
Okay,
substantive
so
change.
we're approved for the event in regards to that one slideshow.
Yes.
The one thing that we have to redo and resubmit. But for right now, we can hold the event, let's say in January.
Assuming you are working with a council office on this because of the publicity issues, yeah, you guys could, but you need to get a date and a location and all that set first.
Sure. I was just waiting on you.
Okay.
I just wanted the blessing. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, as far as anything else goes, it's still the same thing without what she said legally. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns with the event going forward as planned?
I have a question. It's just so unclear. So if this is approved, the next step would be to partner with my city councilor or staff or city council member. It wouldn't be to partner with a city agency, just so I'm clear.
No.
Thank you.
No, it's city council. I did have one more question for Sabrina. Do we need any approval for our speakers to come forth, because some of these are city employees, and I didn't know that if we needed permission from a city employee. Stan?
City employees are, I am going to assume that if a city employee is agreeing to come and speak, then they have gotten permission from their supervisor to do so. So we sort of have a built-in check-off there. Where you might have to get approvals is for third parties outside of the city. Because
Like the high-speed rail?
yes, you would have to get approval for that.
Okay, now how will we submit that approval to you if we do select that?
I would say a best practice is to give me as much time as possible and no less time than 2 weeks, letting me know specifically who it is that you would like to come speak, because this is where it gets
Well, what if I do this?
thorny.
What if I do this for you, to make it easier? For future speakers that we have to our ad hoc meeting, if we could get a room reserved here and invite yourself, and then they would give the presentation as seen in the event.
Well, it probably isn't, it wouldn't, okay. So 2 parts to response to that. First, it's probably not me who needs to be signing off on it. It would be somebody else. Secondly, I don't think the problem with the speakers is necessarily what it is that they're presenting. It's more, it starts to become this government relations thing about who it is inside an external agency who may not be recognized as somebody who deals in government relations or in community outreach, who is doing something, especially high-speed rail as an example, where the city is working on it, and there's a large number of folks in DOT who are caring about this and trying to check all the boxes. So that's more what I mean. It's less about the content of the presentations, because I'm assuming most of these people are going to be professionals, and more to do with some of this back scenes relationship maintenance stuff. So we probably don't need to see the presentation is the short answer. It's just I need to be able to check in with everyone at the city to make sure that that person is okay to be the person presenting.
Okay, but we still need a slideshow from them to present to the Neighborhoods Commission as a guest speaker. Is that part of it?
No, I don't think, well, it's hard to say in a theoretical. With the example of high-speed rail, the content there has been seen by a number of people at the city, so they probably don't need to see the presentation itself. However, if you guys were to pull in somebody else who has nothing to do with something that the city has seen before, then we might have to see the presentation. That's why I'm saying that there's no tried and true hard yes or no.
Well, this was actually suggested by District 2. Council member Sergio wanted to have high-speed rail come to his, and he wanted to know if I could.
You can. It's just, again, I just need to know who the speaker is that you want to have come in. And if that's just the case, I can talk to Ahmad and DOT and find out specifically who it is that they believe here at the city would be the best person to make a presentation about high-speed rail.
Okay,
And make sure
that's fine.
No one's feathers are getting ruffled at
Yeah,
the authority.
absolutely. I want to make this as easy as possible. I just want to make sure if I do it once, then it'll happen again, the same way.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
We have a question from Commissioner Wilkins.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a delicate question, so I'll apologize. High-speed rail is a good example. We've got District 2, we've got people for and against. The against is a very vocal guy. And I don't know if part of this dog and pony show, this road show that we're doing, is to present both sides, or if it would be party line. So that's an example where maybe, I have no idea who he's lining up, but maybe he brings somebody from the actual high-speed rail, a paid employee, who's blessed, and if he's going to get somebody to talk about the negative side, is that something that would be allowed? Or is that, I think that's where the conflict is, right?
Okay, well, I'll just give you the most easiest answer that I could possibly give you. Most of you know that we just had, United Neighborhoods had a conference in September. And the same presentation that was given at that conference is the same presentation that will be in District 2 if we have it come to that district.
Okay, so my question is more for the guidelines for those of us who like to put together a roadshow. Are we restricted on the viewpoints?
I don't have an answer for you on that. However,
It's case
I
by
will
case.
say to you guys, you are a city entity. So keep that in mind. I mean, I'm putting it down as a question to ask our attorney, but just to.
Okay, well, here's the real life example. Is he and I are in the firing line because we towed the party line, and I was 100% and will continue to be 100% for Sergio. We got thrown under the bus because we were not offering the opposing view for people to analyze the pros and the cons. And, I mean, if that's life, that's life, but it's really frustrating for us to see all that going on and not be able to participate. I thought part of our function here is to bring issues up that's hot for the community and for them to make decisions, and for them to make decisions they're going to need all the data points. Sergio has a recall against him because he's not showing the data points on the other side. That's all I'm trying to avoid. And maybe I think this is the right answer is probably Commissioner Wilkins, take a deep breath and just do as you're told.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that. I really do. It's something for all of us to consider. With that said, my last question is that, again, I want clarification from a speaker point of view. We don't need the neighborhood commission to agree on the speaker that the committee is going forth with.
So you're asking whether or not a vote needs to come forward for speakers?
For the presentation. Because it runs into getting them here, setting it up. It's a lot of time consuming to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that we can't. I'm just saying, is it necessary? And if we need to vote right now on doing it that way, then, you know, I want to know how it's done.
Did you?
So I have a comment. So as I was thinking about this, and Commissioner Wilkins, so in the spirit of speaking in one voice, it seems to me we've spent thousands, even hundreds of hours pulling together a slide deck that has us all speaking as one voice with on the record public information. It seems like it would be inconsistent with that practice to then kind of slap in a big presentation that might include things that, you know, would inadvertently, you know, not fulfill on the goal of the whole project, which is to provide an open forum, to have people ask questions, to be informed. So I would assert that having a vote by the commission before any speakers are approved, the commission vote to have them be part of the deck, and maybe even make that into a template as a standard. And then over time, we probably have a group of 5 or 6 approved templates or approved speakers. But I feel like it gives it the visibility also so that the city, if we wanted to have a non-city speaker, that would be the fastest way to get approval for that as well, seems to me.
Okay, I agree with you with a non-city speaker. But as far as a city speaker, you know, I see what's the problem.
So the problem would be that if you know, you guys present on something, I have no idea, like literally no idea that it got presented, and then suddenly I wake up and I find this gigantic mess because I had no idea something was happening, and none of us did. And, you know, there's a way to have visibility into that that's consistent with how we've put this together in the past. It's consistent with, so this is a new thing we haven't discussed.
Well, I just thought that each department of the San Jose departments are supposed to be open and transparent I wouldn't think it would be any different than if they came in here one time, the message wouldn't change anytime soon.
I think her point is less to do with the controversy surrounding the staff per se, and more to do with the fact that the issue might be controversial. For example, if you brought in a bridge housing 4 months ago, if you we did this and you put bridge housing in there and housing staff got up and presented this, it wouldn't be crazy that a bunch of you would have started to hear from your residents, because on next door it went out that a bunch of people were really unhappy with the idea of bridge housing, and that's why it just came back to council this week. So that's all by way of saying her point is really to do with making sure that all of your fellow commissioners are looped in, and less to do with the city necessarily being okay with the content. Does that make sense?
Sure, I can understand that. It's just that, when our presentations are up, we have transportation. Now, that's a department, city department, code enforcement, and I just didn't understand what we couldn't get out of all of that by going to the website.
To their websites?
Yeah, because we're open and transparent.
You can get all that information, but then it would be you guys presenting it. It wouldn't be somebody from DOT. It would be yourselves, right? Well, then it's likely that they would want to bring in their own slides, which would include potentially additional information than what's on the website. And not for lack of transparency, but because things change over time pretty quickly, and websites are pretty stationary.
I just want to make sure that we're supposed to come through the committee all the time and present it. So they're supposed to come up to the microphone and present what they want to present. Is this the
I don't know if they need to come literally and present it. I think it might be okay for them to just give the information like this. Like no one's presenting the slideshow, but you guys have it to look at. I think that might be sufficient.
Okay, without them being represented.
Right. I mean, probably city staff would come, but they wouldn't be prepared to get up and actually give the slideshow. They would just be here to answer questions about their slideshow.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure this out. Okay, with that said, we will pick up the slide. We'll go ahead and run with this as is. We have a speaker. I guess we need to come back and present the slides for the speaker alone before we can actually have a speaker to the event. Is that what I'm hearing, Sabrina?
Say the last part again?
Everything else is approved except the speaker, which we need to have come back and have the neighborhood commission approve the slideshow for a speaker of any sort.
The slideshows that the speaker would be presenting separate from this one.
Yes.
I'm just trying to understand.
Yes.
Yes, that you should be getting their slideshows in front of this body.
Okay. Okay, so with the schedule being what it is it feasible that the ad hoc can be take some time and squeeze this in January?
You guys are up when? Hold on, let's look it back. Well, you guys don't sunset until March, so you can talk about this up until March as an ad hoc committee.
I understand the hopes of the ad hoc when they have 3 events prior to us sunset date. And
to clarify, the roadshow can happen outside of the sunset date. You guys cannot meet as an ad hoc committee after the sunset date. This whole commission can continue working on this as a whole commission after March. It's not that this drops off the work plan come March, or that you guys can't do it after March. I'm just saying.
No, I was saying in regards to the speakers that we need to bring in.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure that if we want to get the ball rolling, do we have enough time in January to come in and present that?
I mean, we haven't set the full agenda yet for January, but I assume so.
Okay. Okay. So I guess we'll come back in January and just get the speaker confirmed and the slideshow, and then we can start planning for the event at that point.
Okay.
Okay.
So the action for this, oh, sorry, there are questions from the commission?
I have a comment.
Comment, yes, a comment or question.
Okay.
Commissioner Fleming?
So, Commissioner Wilkins is 100% correct, and I feel that the residents in the city are fed up. And they're fed up because they're not getting both sides of the story. They're getting information pushing one agenda this way, when really there's, half the city feeling the other way about it, and good city council members, their reputations are getting ruined. So we should have the ability to provide information from both sides. That's my comment.
Thank you. Additional comments, questions? Okay, the action is to approve the roadshow presentation. And if I may, I think this could include multiple forms. Is it leading the witness if I offer some possible ways to move forward?
Go for it.
Okay. So we can approve the template without the speaker elements. We cannot approve the template without the speaker elements and come back next month with speaker ideas filled in. We can approve the template without the speakers with that org chart as it's revised, or I think we can take the little org chart out, the pyramid, I don't know what we want to call it. So those are some, I don't know how you want to formulate that as a motion. Go ahead.
I will motion that we accept the template without the speakers and with that diagram removed.
Okay, so approve just make sure, approve the template as is without the speaker with the diagram removed.
Yes.
It's one motion. Seconded by Commissioner Carter. Vote, all in favor? Let's see, let's read the names out.
I have a question here.
I'm sure you can.
Sorry, but we just called a vote, but there should still be debate and open. If somebody wants to add another motion on the table or do something else, we should have that ability still.
Sure.
And we shouldn't call a vote, so that's
Sure,
just mine.
thank you, Commissioner Fleming.
Yeah.
Let's do that. So we have a motion on the table, which is to approve, a seconded motion, which is to approve the existing presentation with that chart removed and no speaker, with the speaker information presumably to be looked at in January. Are there additional discussion or additional motions? Commissioner Fleming, you raised it. Did you want to add something?
No, I just wanted to give the body the opportunity to speak if they wanted to. But thank you.
Close. Okay. As we're in the process of voting, all in favor? All abstain? Commissioner Giamona abstains. And noes. Anybody no? The motion carries. Sabrina, I've got a question. I have a request for public comment from a commissioner that isn't on a specific topic. Would now be the time to put that in? It's not an agenda topic item.
A public comment. Unfortunately, I think public comment, because it's not anything on the agenda, would have to be for next meeting.
Next meeting? Okay. Okay, thank you.